So I'm excited to have you on. Typically, we just open up with you introducing yourself, who Khaliq is, anything that you want to share, let the audience know how to get into the business,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
and I mean, first, before we get into that, Rich, I definitely have to thank you, for putting this together for the office. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
Anything that can get us exposure, we definitely appreciate it,
cool,
Rich. So
man.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
All right, all good.
Yeah. So
Anytime.
I've been in the business now for about 10 years. Got to Florida in about 2013, and at that time, there were a lot of foreclosures on the market. A lot of people looking for flips, a lot of short sales on the market because if you remember that time, the market had crashed a couple of years ago. So there was a huge opportunity for investors, wholesalers to get in and make a little money. So that's where I got started in 2013. Thankfully, I had some really good training. So shout out to Ryan and Anish.
Cool.
And did a bunch of deals with those guys on the investor side. And eventually, though, it started to slow down
Yeah.
because we were doing a lot of short sales. And I mean, not to get into too much details, but the banks weren't coming back at the prices that we liked. So there wasn't any profit in the
Okay.
deals again. So I had already been referring deals to real estate agents, tons
Okay.
of deals. So I had it in my mind to make the switch. And then in about 2016, 2017, I decided to get licensed. And,
And so,
Go
so
ahead.
you went from wholesaling, right, working with,
wholesaling and flipping, short sales mainly.
and then went into getting a real estate license and becoming and doing retail real estate.
Right. So since 2017, been working both sides,
No.
doing
So-
the investor side and the retail side.
How do you get introduced into the wholesale side? Did somebody, did somebody introduce you to that? How did you get into that side of the business?
My father-in-law was the one who was interested in it first. So that was kind of the spark. And then getting to Florida, I really saw the opportunity. And there were tons of people who also needed help. So it was a win-win for everybody. It was a win for the investor, who could, make a little money, and it was a win for the homeowner because a lot of the times you were actually saving them from foreclosure.
Yeah. So that you're giving them an opportunity to get out, and maybe even make a little bit of money on their side of the sale,
Exactly.
so they don't have to go into foreclosure. You shared with me a very interesting story about when you came from Jamaica, and then you went into college. I want you to actually speak a little bit about that because I found it interesting. You went
Yeah.
straight from Jamaica, this beautiful warm weather,
Yeah.
right into Syracuse in the winter time, 5-degree
Yeah.
weather, and then you also.
So I left
yeah.
Jamaica when I was about 17, 18, straight from high school. Went to Syracuse. I will admit it was a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah.
But I mean, I ended up liking it. Met a lot of great people there. Did a couple degrees. So I was in Syracuse for about 6-7 years. Moved back to Jamaica for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Came back to
came
Florida.
back to Florida.
Cool, man. Cool. So, how different is the business from the wholesale side? Because a lot of real estate agents that didn't go, from wholesaling to being a real estate agent, when they get into the business as a real estate agent, then they're interested afterwards
Yeah.
in what the wholesale business is about.
Yeah.
So, how can you give us some detail how different the wholesaling is
I
compared to
mean-
being a real estate agent?
I mean, just off the bat, the transactions are much quicker because you're typically dealing with cash.
Okay.
So the whole transaction will last, 20 to 30 days max. Because most of the buyers, they're coming in 0 inspection period, all cash. So the
Mm.
deals are quick and fast. Compared to the retail side, we're dealing with lenders, other brokers. The deals are at a way slower pace.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think that's an advantage because I'm used to processing these transactions at light speed pace, So
Yeah.
I would say that's the biggest difference that I see.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
inspection periods, you don't have the contingencies
Yeah.
that you typically would have with
And
working
you're
with
not
a
dealing
traditional
the
buyer.
lenders.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So from 2017 to now, so it's been about 6 years or
Yeah,
so.
About
How-
6 years.
How are you liking it as a real estate agent? What can a buyer or what can a customer expect when they're working with you?
Let me put it this way, Rich. My style is very hands-on. So and you should know in this business you have to be hands-on. So my style is I'm a full concierge service for my clients. My clients can call me anytime, early, late, if needed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but as I say, fully hands-on in this business, Rich. You know, we're dealing with emotions, expectations, different personalities, and you know that's just with our clients. But then we have to be pushing the transaction along. So we're dealing with title companies, lenders, brokers, assistants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's really a lot of work. I would say I wish it were as easy as just showing properties and just pushing some paper through when the deals are done.
Yeah.
But the reality is that you just can't do that. So to reiterate again, you have to be very, very hands-on. And I will say this, Rich, if I have a client who literally needs me to pick me up and carry them to that closing table, I'm here for it, man.
Yeah. And I've seen how you've handled your customers before.
Yeah.
You and I were just on a conference call yesterday, and every transaction has its ups and downs. And one of the transactions that you're closing on, there are some hiccups. There's some hiccups in the road, and the seller who
That's
you
an
repre-
understatement, but yeah.
yeah, there's some hiccups. We try to put it as nicely as we can.
Yeah.
And the way that you relay that message to the seller, to your customer, and the way that you delivered it made it where the customer wasn't nervous, where they understood that, okay, I'm in good hands.
Yeah, and that's just a result of being extremely hands-on with him
Mhm.
from the start.
Yes.
You know, so I kind of know his personality, his cadence,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, able to communicate with him effectively.
Delivering good news is always easy.
Exactly.
It's always easy, right?
Yeah.
When you're delivering some news that, hey, there's 6 liens on your property,
Yeah.
totaling, $20,000 possibly.
Exactly.
That's not easy news to deliver. But not only that, you come to the table. Yes, there is a problem, but I also come to the table with a solution. And here's how we're gonna resolve this issue and get to the closing table, and they respect you for that. So
Yeah. And then, you're delivering bad news, but at the same time, the client is extremely nervous as well. So it's a very delicate situation. But I mean, that's what we're here for. As I said, we're here for it.
cool, man. Yeah, I've seen that was pretty cool. Did you had a closing yesterday? How did I go? Did you close on that one?
It's closed, buyer seller signed, but I'm still waiting to be funded.
All right. Do you have any interesting stories that happened recently? I know you're always full of interesting stories, but I wanted you to share maybe if you had some interesting stories to tell the audience. And
I mean, not to go into too much detail, but I'm actually dealing with a property right now, and we'll find this as real estate agents where we have a property to sell, but the tenant is not cooperating.
Mhm.
So I'm in a situation now where I have to show a property, and there's a whole bunch of drama going on with this tenant in terms of police abuse,
oh my,
sickness, so all kinds of things. So I don't want to get into too much detail, but having the ability to navigate around those types of situations and dealing with people in their specific circumstance, I think it's a good thing.
and that's where your expertise and all your years of experience comes into, and that's why it's important to work with an agent that can deliver that type of customer service. Because a newer and I don't mean to be rude or anything, but maybe an agent that doesn't have as much experience as you might have, especially dealing with customers like that, they may get discouraged or not
Yeah.
handle the transaction the correct way.
And I'm used to it because when I started out, most of the clients that I helped, they were in distress. So
Okay.
it
Yeah,
was
I
never a
getcha.
happy situation.
Yeah, I get
From the start, hey, we're buying a new house.
Yeah.
It
so-
was, hey, and I need to get out of this situation. The banks are on me. I have a foreclosure date. Help me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. That's pretty interesting, right? So, are you also considering investing it yourself? Do you advise real estate agents to also be investors?
100%. I think for me personally, I mean, I wouldn't advise anybody how to invest their money, but for me personally, investing in real estate long term is definitely a part of the plan.
Part of the plan.
And I mean, if you can understand it, I mean, it's really a numbers game. If you can understand it and see where you can profit either by, you know, flipping or making a cash flow investment, you know, there's definitely, you know, long-term profit on the end for you.
Okay, cool. And did you get all of this just from experience? Did you read any books or do any specific type of training? Like, how did you get so much experience?
Just doing transactions.
Just doing the transaction, just being involved in the
Just
business.
being involved, being on the ground, talking to people, doing transactions. I think that's the best way to learn. The books are nice, but there's rarely a situation where the book gives it to you exactly as it is on the ground.
You need real life experience.
Exactly.
Cool. Anything that you want to share, man? Anything interesting or just in general that you want to express?
I mean, just so we can give the viewers some value, I was thinking maybe we could answer some frequently asked questions. Number one question I'm getting right now is, will the market crash? That's like the number one question. And then what I would say to that is, you know, from being on the ground, I have a lot of buyers that I'm working with right now. I have sellers that I'm working with right now. I see agents in my office with a lot of buyers and sellers that they're working with right now. There are transactions closing every day. So in terms of South Florida, I can't speak for the rest of the country, but in terms of South Florida, at the moment, I'm not really seeing any slowdown.
I agree with you on that. And I've also been getting buyers. So when you go and there's clickbait or you go online, you're seeing, interest rates are going up and all these other news. But because we're in the business, when I get a buyer qualified, I can actually see the rate of what the buyer is getting qualified for. And I'm seeing interest rate go down. Buyers are coming back into the market and they want to purchase.
Yeah. And even so, Rich, the lenders these days have very creative solutions if the interest rate is high. Because you can, you know, do buy downs. They have all kind of creative things that you can do as well.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I don't see the market crashing at all. Maybe a small slowdown, but I'm not seeing where we're gonna be tanking or anything like that, right?
Same.
Property values are still going up. Of course, they're not going up those significant margins anymore, but they're still going up.
I think the rate of appreciation is maybe flattening a bit, but in terms of a crash, I really don't see it.
What's happening with me is I've had some buyers that was in the market about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And at that time, they had asked me the question, hey, should I buy now? And people were overbidding. They were paying above asking price and above appraisal value. And I said to them, the way that the market is going currently, I do feel like it's a good time to buy. Your home is going to appreciate in value. But some buyers, which is understandable, they didn't want to pay above asking. They felt like if they paid above asking, they weren't getting a good deal.
Yeah. But fast forward 3 years.
Fast forward 3 years. That's exactly what I'm getting at right now. So some of those buyers, with the interest rate that they had at 3%, 3.5%, the interest rate, are coming back into the market. Now the interest rate right now, I just got a buyer pre-qualified at 6.3. I think it was 6.3 conventional.
That's good.
Which is, which is, of course, it's not 3.5, right? Now that property that they were looking at 2 years ago, that townhouse, that single-family home that was $300,000, I call it like a sticker shock effect.
Yeah.
Where they're looking at the property and they're going, there's no way I was looking at this home 2 years ago and now I got to pay $50,000, $75,000 more.
Yep.
And now they're downsizing, I would say, right? They want to go, if you have a buyer that wanted a single family home, now they might have to go into a townhouse or even a condo,
right?
Or even a condo. And the problem right here in South Florida, the condo associations, a lot of them, the HOA dues are going up.
Yeah, and I mean that's a whole nother hurdle as well that we didn't mention. The HOAs. The HOAs,
yes. So the HOAs right now, because of South Florida, and specifically in South Florida, the insurance is going up, and because of what happened in Miami, the Champlain Towers falling, there's these new laws that have been passed where the buildings themselves have to meet a certain requirement, and that's causing some of the HOA dues to increase. So that all factors into the current market that we're in. However, they are still good deals. So when people ask that question, is the market going to crash or is it a good time to buy? My answer is always, can you afford it, right? Without it being too much of a stretch for you. Now, when you
can you manage the payment?
Can you manage the payment?
Right.
Now, the lender on paper might say, yes, you can qualify for X amount, but you have to buy with something that you're comfortable with.
Correct.
You're comfortable with, right? And and there's still deals out there. There's still opportunity to buy out there, even with the interest rates being higher. Real estate isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
If your plans are to hold the property for many years, then I think it's the right time to buy.
Yeah, and I mean, just to go back on the point of being hands-on, this is where it counts to have an agent that's hands-on, because a lot of these buyers, they think that these properties are just sitting on the market waiting on them to decide which one to pick.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, it's going after a property, you may not get it. Going after another one, you may not get it, and maybe you get it on the third one. So it's about persistence, communicating with the client, and managing that expectation so that they're working with you throughout.
We're in South Florida. We're in specific. Our office is in Tamarack, but we service all of South Florida. Is there anything that you would recommend for a new buyer to be prepared for when they are coming into the market to buy?
If you have just made the decision to buy, I always tell my buyers, the first thing is just get pre-approved. It doesn't cost you anything. You can have your numbers within 1 to 2 days, and that will give you a very clear picture of what you can actually do. I find that a lot of buyers, they come to you ready to go see properties, but the financing part of it is not figured out yet. So that's something I find that I keep repeating to customers. Hey, I want to work with you, but speak with the lender. Let's see exactly where we're at, so I don't waste your time and you don't waste my time.
I'm on the same page with you. All right. So what happens, because people can go on Google and these quick pre-qualification kind of things, they go online, they kind of put in their income, they estimate their debts, things like that, and then they see this very false pre-approval.
Yeah.
And then they say, all right, you know what? I have an idea of what I can qualify for, so let me go out there and see what's on the market. But only the lender, after they've done everything, verified all your debts, all your incomes, your assets, all that, then they can properly qualify you, and then you can go out there and start shopping on the market. Because the worst thing that you want to do is take you, your wife, your kids, and everybody, and go to an open house or go see a property that you truly fell in love with, right? And you're going, hey, Khaliq, let's go make that offer right now. And guess what?
No pre-approval.
No pre-approval, or you don't qualify for it. And now that's just heartbreaking. So we don't want to break anybody's hearts over here, right? So we always try to make sure we're doing the right thing for the customer. That way, when you do fall in love with that property, Khaliq, you can buy it right on the spot.
I agree.
Right? What about your sellers, man? What are you informing your sellers of when they're ready to list their house on the market?
The biggest thing with sellers is trying to get them in line with what properties are actually selling for on the market. Because we've had a real up and down wave here in South Florida, just even over the past year.
Yeah.
Because even 6 months ago, the market was crazy. You had to be sending offers with cash on top of the appraisal, every single offer that was standard. Right now, I think we've settled back down into normalcy. So the biggest thing with sellers is getting them to understand, hey, look, this is your house. These are similar houses. This is what they are selling for. And that's very important, because if a buyer is coming in with a mortgage, the property has to appraise. So I know you want to get $1 million, but look, the houses are only going for $700,000. So the only way we have of getting $1 million is if there's a crazy cash buyer that comes in and buys it. So you're reducing your buyer's pool.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing with sellers is just getting them to understand the current numbers of the market. And then I'll give you the information. You can decide if that works for you.
If that works for you or not. And what we're seeing is that a lot of agents are taking listings and not informing the sellers of the current market, and now they're sitting on the market longer than they should
Again,
be.
reach expectations.
Back to what we were saying is managing those seller expectations, because right now what we're seeing is and specifically in our market right now, expired listings are up.
Yeah.
Properties are sitting on the market 6 months if they're not priced correctly. And that's because some of the sellers are overpricing it and then now we're just sitting.
Yeah, still thinking that the market is the same from 6 months
Yeah.
ago, which it's not. Yeah.
So I like to call expired listings, right? I like to speak to the sellers that had their house on the market and see what went wrong
Yeah.
and what we can do to correct those issues that the current agent made or wasn't aware of, and get your home priced correctly and get it sold within a time frame. And I don't think it's anything that the agent might have did wrong. I don't want to bash other agents or anything like that. It's just sometimes the sellers weren't informed correctly.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a personality issue. I mean,
Yeah.
the reality is you're not gonna mesh with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a numbers game. So
And that's the good thing here with our team over here is that we work together. So if I have a customer that I think, okay, you know what, maybe I need Khaliq's help
Yeah.
on this deal, I can call you and then you can help me out and we'll work on the deal together and get it closed. So,
yeah, and I will just add to that. You know, in terms of the office, you know, we have great support. We have Vera, who is a fantastic transaction coordinator. You know, Vanessa manages everything. We have David for support. So even though you're working with me, you're really working with, you know, about 4 or 5 other people. So it's a whole team. You know, with my experience, for anybody listening out there, if you need help with an investment property, whether it's a flip, whether it's cash flow, you know, whether it's an Airbnb, I can help you with that. If you're looking for something on the residential side as well, you know, a house for you and your family to live in, a condo, a townhouse, I can help you with that. So, I mean, reach out to me anytime. I'm Florida Real Estate Hero on Instagram and all social media platforms. And this is our office here, Remax InterAction. We have a great team. You know, reach out to us, guys. If you're interested in real estate, we're here.
thanks, Khaliq, man. I appreciate it.